And joining us now, the former Senate Majority Leader, the former Special Middle East Envoy, George Mitchell, joining us from Miami. The news that's just coming out, you heard it already, Senator, that Susan Rice has written to the president to withdraw her name for consideration as the next Secretary of State, succeeding Hillary Clinton. The president has accepted that request from her, accepted that decision. What do you make of this?
Well, I think under the circumstances, it's the right decision for her and for the president. She's an outstanding public servant, and I think she would have done a good job, as she's done as the United States ambassador at the United Nations. But in view of all of the controversy that's erupted in the past few weeks, I think she concluded that it has become a distraction, not just to her personally, but to the president and to his administration. So I respect her. I think she's served her nation well, and I think she will do so again in the future. She's a relatively young woman, but extremely smart and able, and I'm sure the president has accepted it with deep regret, but under the circumstances, it appears to be the right decision.
It certainly seems to pave the way for Senator John Kerry to be the next Secretary of State. What do you think about that?
Well, I have a high regard for John. I served with him for many years in the Senate. If nominated and confirmed, he would be an outstanding Secretary of State. He's served the country with great distinction in the Senate. And as you know, of course, he was the Democratic nominee for president in a prior election. So I think John has contacts all around the world. He's well known and will, I think, do an effective job if nominated and confirmed.
And finally, Chuck Hagel, he's widely reported now to be the front runner to be the next Secretary of Defense, succeeding Leon Panetta. You served with Chuck Hagel. You know him. He's a Republican. What do you think about that possibility?
Well, I think it's a good choice if the president, in fact, decides upon it. I did serve with Chuck. I know Leon Panetta extremely well, having served many, many years with him, and Leon has done a very good job in every task he's undertaken, including most recently as Secretary of Defense and head of the CIA. Chuck has vast foreign policy experience. He also knows all of the issues. I think it would be useful, as President Clinton did, to have a Republican in the cabinet, and particularly one in such a very important and prominent position. Now, I don't know a decision has been made on that, and obviously there are many other able officials and potential candidates, so I don't try to prejudge that issue. But if the president did decide on Chuck, I think it would be a good choice.
Let's talk about Syria. I know you visited there. You met with the president, Bashar al-Assad, when you were the president's special Middle East envoy. You know him to a certain degree. You think he's going to stay to the bitter end, potentially wind up like Gaddafi, or do you think at some point he sees the handwriting on the wall and gets out of Syria?
Well, I don't know what he will do, but I hope he will see the handwriting on the wall. There's no possibility, in my judgment, that he can remain and his government can remain in that position. It's been brutal the way they've dealt with their own citizens. Now over 40,000 Syrians killed in this terrible conflict. And he faces a very tough future, whatever he does. But the longer he stays on, the longer the killing goes on, and the greater the hostility and animosity among all of the people of Syria. This is going to be a tremendously difficult transition. Wolf, you know the area very well. People think that the fighting may stop the day he leaves, but I think there's some reason to believe that fighting will continue as the struggle for control will just move from one scenario to another. So for his sake, he would be best off to leave while he can, because if he doesn't, I think he will face the same kind of fate that others in similar situations have faced. Not just him, but his family, members of his clan, members of the Alawite sect. It's a very difficult and complicated situation, and the best thing for him and for everyone would be to leave as soon as possible.
We got to wrap it up. A quick question. Do you think he's desperate enough that he would actually use chemical warfare against his own people?
I doubt that. I think he knows what that would produce. It would produce an instantaneous international reaction led by the United States, as President Obama has made clear. That would be really sealing his doom in a very clear way, and it would be a horrific act. The notion of poisoning your own people, I think, is something that is repulsive to everyone. My hope is that he'll see the light and leave as soon as possible.
Senator Mitchell, as usual, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And we're also getting more reaction right now to Ambassador Susan Rice's withdrawal as a possible Secretary of State. One of her critics, Republican Senator Kelly Ayotte, just issued a statement. Let me read part of it to you. I respect Susan Rice's decision and appreciate her commitment to public service. However, my concerns regarding the terrorist attack in Benghazi go beyond any one individual. I remain deeply troubled by the continued lack of information from the White House and the State Department. That coming in from Kelly Ayotte.